The Rutgers Law School Blockchain and Fintech program, which is part of the Rutgers Center for Corporate Law and Governance, hosted an event in April of 2022 called Crypto Firm Meets Law School, featuring Gareth. We're pleased to share a recording of that event.
And without further ado, let me welcome Gareth, who's the CEO and co-founder of TrustStamp. He has extensive experience in fintech and law and technology. And we are very fortunate to have TrustStamp here as part of the fintech program of the Rutgers Center for Corporate Law and Governance. So without further ado, let me give the floor to Gareth.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. As you indicated, I'm Gareth Jenner. I'm the CEO and co-founder of TrustStamp, the privacy-first identity company. We were founded in 2016. We're now listed on the NASDAQ exchange and have team members in 9 countries on 4 continents. We provide privacy-protecting identity and trust software, and our users are as diverse as MasterCard International and S&P Bank, the US Department of Homeland Security, a non-profit fighting human trafficking, and now individual users of crypto assets and the metaverse. So what is the metaverse? By now, most of us are familiar with the origin of the term from Neal Stephenson's 1982 novel, Snow Crash, and many of you could provide a detailed technical explanation way beyond—
Excuse me interrupting you. Would you mind sharing your screen?
No, not yet. I will.
Okay, my bad. Apologies.
Okay, by now most of us are familiar with the origin of the term from Neal Stephenson's 1982 novel, Snow Crash, and many of you could provide a detailed technical explanation beyond the understanding of most potential users. Well, what does the term reference in contemporary usage? Today's common use of metaverse refers to a virtual reality experience in a persistent virtual world that continues to exist even when you're not actively participating, with some platforms also offering an augmented reality experience, combining aspects of our physical environment with the virtual world. For some, the metaverse is their fictional fear from the dystopian future portrayed in Ready Player One. Now, while virtual and augmented reality provide the most immersive experiences with a sense of presence in the environment, some platforms, such as Fortnite and Decentraland, deliver a metaverse experience that can only be accessed through desktop computers, laptops, and even cell phones, while some platforms, such as Mozilla Hubs, can be experienced through either 2-dimensional or virtual reality interactions. Most users think of participation in the metaverse as playing a game, but the potential of the metaverse is far more than an immersive environment for social engagement and gaming. It's a holistic societal infrastructure encompassing the delivery of government services and a digital economy where users, both individuals and enterprises, will own transferable assets, be employed by other users, and create, buy, sell, trade, and consume goods and services, and potentially be taxed on the income from such endeavors, not just by governments, but also by the operators of the metaverse platform in the form of service and transaction fees that would not be incurred if the supply was made online outside of the metaverse environment. As an example of such a meta tax, after repeatedly criticizing Apple for the 30% fee on sales through its App Store, the belatedly eponymous Meta is charging the same 30% for sales on the MetaQuest VR platform, plus an additional 17% as a Horizon platform fee. And that is, of course, a 47% tax on gross proceeds from each transaction, and not just on the profit. There's a great deal of hype around the metaverse today, but doesn't this already exist? Yes, virtually everything that we think about in terms of the metaverse, absent the current level of immersive VR and AR headset experiences and interaction with AI, has been around for 2 decades. As an example, Second Life was launched to the public in beta in 2002, and by 2013 had peaked at around 1 million users. And in the meantime, it had developed Linden dollars as an environment currency, with the opportunity to exchange them for US dollars via the Lindex exchange, and had thriving cottage industries buying and selling land and creating and trading artifacts for use on the platform, with participants turning over tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and in some cases, even millions of dollars a year. Although I can't find any recent economy citing numbers for Second Life, the potential for rapid growth is illustrated by the growth in the gross domestic product of Second Life from 64 million in 2006 to 567 million in 2009, representing 25% of the then virtual economy and approximately 760 million inflation-adjusted dollars today. So what's different about the metaverse that is leading to Gartner predicting that 30% of companies will be selling products in the metaverse by 2026, and 25% of adults will be spending at least an hour a day in the metaverse? There are a number of convergences that drive the immediate and short-term potential for the metaverse. The first, quite simply, is the availability of high-speed internet access. The second is the maturation of technology, including the computational power of servers and consumer devices, the emergence of decent quality, low-cost VR headsets, and the evolution of motion tracking tools. And the third, that will power the development of decentralized asset ownership and transfer systems, together with a full range of financial transaction functionality, and even the development of democratic decentralized governance systems, is blockchain. And of course, one of its most popular implementations being the rapidly growing, if rather overheated, market for non-fungible tokens or NFTs. While consumer VR technology is still nascent, with headsets being clunky and most users experiencing motion sickness at some point, the rate of improvement is exponential. And with the sales of Meta Quest headsets estimated at over 10 million units to date, and over 10,000 individual worlds, and a cell phone-based version of Horizons scheduled for this year, the metaverse as a virtual reality experience appears to be heading from early consumer adopters towards ubiquity. And all that means that the metaverse is seen as having immense commercial potential. JP Morgan has predicted the metaverse market size at $1 trillion, while Goldman Sachs, without saying a time limit, has predicted the metaverse market size as 1 to 12 trillion. In the near term, the market size has been predicted to be approximately $700 billion by 2030, which represents a gross domestic product roughly equivalent to Switzerland or Saudi Arabia today. And that potential has attracted some of the biggest corporate names in technology, with a combined value of the companies that have announced metaverse commitments exceeding $14 trillion. The vision of many of those companies is likely to be optimized for walled gardens, selfishly maximizing the time and money that users spend within their proprietary environment. But I believe a more idealistic vision, and one that global monopolies regulators may well impose, is an interoperable system of metaverse platforms with open standards that will allow users to create personas and avatars that can move between platforms and take their on-platform assets with them. And that brings us to MetaPresence. And now I will share my screen and take you through a presentation on the concept of MetaPresence. Oops, technical problem here. So the MetaPresence Vault introduces a new paradigm for identity. Most of us have been familiar with the concept of using usernames and passwords. They, of course, have an incredible number of problems. You have ever-increasing complexity, high friction, regular changes are required. Many of us use passwords at least twice, and we forget those passwords. Passwords are simply not a good way to identify ourselves in any environment. And there are specific challenges and opportunities in the digital asset space. Stolen crypto has reached an absurd level of risk, while the second risk is simply are losing access to our digital assets. It's estimated that 20% of all Bitcoin ever traded is inaccessible today because the owner has lost the access. Now, going to the metaverse, or indeed to any of our financial environments in which we transact, we have multiple personas, multiple wallets, multiple accounts, and siloed digital presences, which mean that we have to remember all of this information for everywhere that we want to transact. Now, biometric authentication was thought by many to be the answer. But the problem with biometrics is that while if you lose your username and passwords, you can simply change them, you can't change your biometrics. Now, the biometric industry tells you it's okay, we encrypt, they won't be lost. But of course, everybody says we encrypt, and yet there are data losses. In 2021, there were 4,145 substantial publicly disclosed breaches of the storage of biometric authentication, leading to 22 billion plus identity records. Now, obviously, that's not 22 billion people. When we expose our biometric records, we expose potentially multiple individual records. So the storage of biometrics is an incredibly dangerous practice unless they're appropriately protected. Now, we talked about the multitude of environments in which we already deal. We have multiple bank accounts, multiple credit cards, but potentially we may have multiple personas on multiple metaverse platforms. So what is really important as we transact anywhere, including in the metaverse, is the concept of establishing trust. And at its core, trust requires identity. The concept of metapresence is the creation of an identity, a metapresence that can assert its attributes across platforms as its owner chooses. The metapresence is an identity which is authenticated through biometrics, but linked to the credentials for platforms, for assets, and in order to allow the ownership and transfer of assets within the context of the personas to which it's attached. Now, I'm going to play you a short video which will tell you about metapresence.
With over $3.2 billion in cryptocurrency stolen in 2021, and an estimated 20% of all Bitcoin rendered inaccessible by a loss of access credentials, protecting your private keys in the digital world is critical. And with over 300 million crypto users today, digital assets are often held in multiple siloed wallets and accounts, where reuse and insecure management of credentials is a well-known security flaw. While a username or password can be reset or recovered if compromised, digital assets can be lost forever when keys are misplaced or stolen. The MetaPresence Vault is your solution for secure account credential and private key storage, ensuring that your crypto wallets and digital assets are protected and accessible only to yourself, independent of platforms and service providers. Open your MetaSafe deposit box in your Decentraland MetaPresence Vault branch, and seamlessly leverage your trusted identity in other metaverse environments in the future. Register for your own safe deposit box in the MetaPresence Vault using your email address. To establish your MetaPresence using the privacy-preserved identifier known as the Irreversibly Transformed Identity Token, or IT2, you will first capture a secure selfie microvideo. Our AI uses this to determine that you are a live person in front of the camera. Next, capture the front and back of your ID document. TrustStamp's advanced AI applies anti-spoofing tests to determine whether the ID is valid and belongs to you. TrustStamp's proven facial biometric verification, document validation, and data protection technologies immediately discard your biometric information and images. The result is a tokenized identifier that can never expose your sensitive information or grant access to someone who is not you. Once inside your MetaSafe, you can store account credentials for your exchange accounts, custodial wallets, and multi-asset wallets. along with your public and private key pairs for your individual currency wallets or NFTs, and more. With TrustStamp's irreversible tokenization technology, with bank-level encryption on device, in transit, and at rest, you never need to worry about your biometric data, account credentials, or cryptographic keys being exposed. All you need to log in on the web or in a MetaPresence Vault branch is your PIN and selfie. Your data can only ever be accessed when you actively provide a liveness-verified secure selfie to create a new IT2, which when matched against your existing tokens, confirms your MetaPresence. Your IT2 serves as your secure and interoperable authenticated identity to grant access to your virtual safe deposit box. And by authenticating your identity in a secure environment, your MetaPresence can establish trust across metaverse platforms without exposing sensitive data in each. The MetaPresence Vault is built on an Amazon Quantum Ledger database, providing an immutable, cryptographically verified history to assure long-term data protection and availability. So as long as you have your biometrics, you'll not lose access to your private keys and credentials. You can now protect, manage, and store your digital asset data in one place to preserve accessibility with total cross-platform control.
So as you heard, the concept of MetaPresence combined with the MetaPresence Vault allows you to leverage assets and attributes across platforms. The concept, quite simply, is to make using digital assets across platforms as easy as transacting in foreign currencies with a credit card. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So you just saw our first branch, which is in Decentraland. At the moment, it's in private beta. It will be open for participants in the very near future. The concept is both that we will have branches in every metaverse, but also that you can access it at any time through the web without logging into a metaverse. You will also be able to use what we call ATMs. And so those are non-branch facilities as standalone kiosks in convenient points in metaverse platforms to again allow you to access your assets that you have stored in your metaverse safe. So this allows you now to save assets, to save credentials, to save attributes that attach to your persona, and to access them anywhere within the metaverse or outside. And we'll shortly be opening our second metaverse branch, and that will enable you to, for the first time, see the implementation of that concept of moving those assets between different metaverse platforms. Within the branch, we also have other facilities. There is a meeting room in which the users can set up business meetings. And we are also going to enable users to store a variety of other types of data within their metaverse vault. And so the MetaPresence Vault account is free for users. The intention is that eventually it will be offered as a commercial product by enterprises that want to provide this facility to their customers, although we see it as a free service for users of the metaverse.